Aloha, I'm Carolyn Tanaka, and welcome to the final segment of Live at the Legislature for the 2018 session. Joining me today is Representative Della Al-Beladi. She is the House Majority Leader, and Representative Cedric Gates. He is a first-time freshman legislator representing Waianae. Welcome to both of you this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Representative Beladi, it has by all measures been a very productive session. The legislature walked the walk and put money where your mouth is and addressed a bunch of serious issues. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So quick overview. Of course, we passed our homelessness and housing initiatives that will build out over 25,000 affordable rental units by 2030. But we did a lot of other things. We funded a lot of health and safety needs. So for example, we have 3 hospitals, one on Hawaii Island, one on Kauai, and one on Oahu. We also funded additional lifeguard positions. And in East Hawaii, we're doing a pilot project with Child Welfare Services. So across the state, lots of funding measures to really address the critical needs of our residents.
And Representative Gates, if you don't mind me letting everybody know, you are the youngest member of the House of Representatives.
Correct.
But you have been very active in your Waianae community. You were the chair of the Neighborhood Board Commission. This is the end of your first term as a representative. Share with us, what's your impression of what's been going on here?
I think we had a very productive sessions for the time I've been here. Last year we have done a lot of great things as far as getting transportation infrastructure, funding for the Waianae Coast, putting funding to our schools, as well as trying to create more jobs in the Waianae Coast community. Mm-hmm. This session we did a lot of great things for our houseless and homeless communities across the state, addressing a lot of the big issues that our community is wanting answers for. So I'm very, very pleased with this session.
Well, I'm pretty sure you should be particularly interested in the homeless initiative that the legislature passed. How will that impact your community, the Waianae community? As
you may know, we have a lot of homeless families and individuals out there on the coastline, and this year we passed the bill to fund Ohana zones. That is really big for my community because we need a place to have residents go to when we do these sweeps. We can't continue to kick the can down the road. And I think by taking on this initiative of creating Ohana zones where we put up micro units in a very short amount of time will help a lot of the houseless families get into housing. And on the permanent housing side, putting a lot of money to affordable rentals will also allow them to stay into a structured housing situation, and I think that that's super important. The other thing that we did was put funding to a family assessment center. Mm-hmm. And I talked to a lot of service providers out there on the coastline, and they believe that that's one of the biggest gaps of services that we need to fill out on the Waianae Coast, is to be able to send homeless families and individuals to these assessment centers so they can truly find out what the issues are and how they can be helped. And so I'm very excited about that. The other great program is the LEAD program, which would diverting homeless individuals who would rather be put into prison, but now they're receiving services and receiving the necessary treatment they need to get their life back on track. So
I'm sure you'll be monitoring the progress of the homeless initiatives,
yes,
especially
sure.
in your community.
Yeah.
Representative Beladi, let's talk about, we have some unfinished business. So what will Airbnb being one of the many things, what can we look forward to? What will you be working on in the interim getting ready for next year's session?
Certainly. So I think Airbnb or the transient vacation rentals is a big question mark. But as we've seen, the Honolulu City Council is already taking measures, and we know the other counties have taken measures. So we really want to see what the counties are doing in terms of enforcement. I think the legislature stands ready certainly to add the taxation piece. But really, this is a land zoning issue for the counties. We also are looking at paid family leave. That received a lot of attention, and I know some folks were disappointed, but actually what was lost in translation was that one of the things that's happening is that there's going to be a financial actuarial study to really look at the numbers here in the state of Hawaii to determine what model will work best. So paid family leave, Airbnb. We also have the Title IX legislation. We laid into our statutes anti-discrimination on the basis of sex, gender identity. We're the first in the nation to do that. But now we need to determine what the enforcement mechanisms are. So we still have an effective date of January 1st, 2020, but we really want to get the enforcement mechanisms right because those are important pieces to ensure that our students are safe in the schools.
Okay, good. So even though you're not in session during the interim, you still apparently have a lot of work.
A lot of work and of course a lot of attention right now. We can't forget to mention the residents of Pohoa and Puna and our own representative Joyce and Ventura. Everyone's watching that as well to see what type of assistance they might need.
And for you, Representative Gates, any interim or goals and objectives before we head into the next session, or?
Yeah, I think making sure that a lot of the funding that was allocated this session and the past session is spent doing what was what it was intended for, and that's what my office will be working with. The other thing is that we'll be hosting a lot of town halls with HPD on agriculture, with our legislative leaders, and trying to just get that community dialogue so that we can come back and draft up legislation to address the concerns brought up by residents.
Well, good. Sounds like you both are going to be pretty busy in the interim. And thank you very much for joining us today on our last Live at the Legislature segment for 2018. The House would like to thank Olelo and its President and CEO, Sanford Inoue, for giving us the opportunity to communicate with all of you. We'd like to also thank the Olelo crew, both in the studio, that's you, Tinkle Malama, and the crew here on our set in the House chambers. And I would like to thank House Communications staff, our Assistant Communications Director, James Gonzer, who was kind enough and enthusiastically enough, energized enough to take my place a couple of times. And to Ryan Sinaga and to our super intern, Shari Nishijima. And thank you to all of you for joining us, and we will see you next year. Aloha.
Live at the Legislature is a live half-hour weekly news program that focuses on the issues, legislation, and topics of importance emerging from this year's legislative session. Each week, state senators and representatives provide a variety of perspectives on the issues from both sides of the aisle. Tune in to Live at the Legislature weekly to get exclusive updates on what's happening in Hawaii's legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capital.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in Room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. The Public Access Room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process. The public is welcome to track and affect legislation pending before the Hawaii State Legislature.
Good morning and welcome back to our final episode of Live at the Legislature. I'm Ka'eo Kealoha Lindsay with the House Minority. Our guest today is Representative Gene Ward, the Minority Floor Leader and Representative from Hawaii Kai. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning. We've been here before, haven't we?
We have quite a few times.
Okay. For those of you who've seen us, here we go. Last time.
So we've reached the end of session, and by all means, it's been a pretty productive one, especially on an election year. So from the minority standpoint and from your standpoint, what is your perspective on this year?
First, I would say the legislature should be commended for its flexibility and agility to adjust to the conditions of Kauai and East Honolulu, and now Puna. The disaster relief of $125 million I thought was excellent. Usually it's bureaucratic, it's slow, we can't get this approval, we can't get that approval. Basically, we had a bill within a day or two, and it showed that we can adjust to what otherwise were rains devastating to the people of Kauai. And in my district in East Honolulu, also very, very devastating. And then when suddenly that was in place, it's $100 million for Kauai, $25 million for non-Kauai, and now with the Leilani estates and geysers of 100 feet of lava going over 1,500 people who are now evacuated, I thought we should be commended for our flexibility and agility to say, put the money where it goes and it can be immediately relevant and applicable.
So one of the biggest issues that you had focused on, and we had said previously on this program, is housing and homelessness, and that's what the legislature did. It was $500 million for affordable housing and $30 million for these new Ohana Zone projects. And so you had a bill that you had been working on with your homeless task force. So how do you see what the ledge did this year?
Let me cite Cervantes, who said, "The test of the pudding is in the eating." We've given the money, as you just said. But what we do with it during the interim is the issue. Case in point, the housing issue. We are now about 25,000 housing units short. So when this 500 million gets applied to 24,000 units, by then, because the Council of Revenue said that we are 6,000 units just to stay flat with our population growth. People grow up, they grow, get families, in migration, military housing, etc. By the time we build those 24,000 units, we're going to be probably 25 to 30,000 units short. So in a way, it's better than not doing it, but it's not going to solve it. That's my point. You know, in our profession, we're supposed to under-promise and over-deliver. I think we're over-promising. I mean, when somebody said this is the best session ever in the history of the legislature, I think that's a little bit too much gilding of the lily, a little bit too much patting ourselves on the back. But let's go to the other promise of the session. We said we're going to do housing, we're going to do homelessness. There were some excellent bills for homelessness. Finally coming of age is the Ohana zones, but what we've got is $30 million, but we got no plan. And it's going to be kicked up into the governor's office, who probably hates Ohana zones, has always spoken against them, but we've given them the money. So we got a formula for failure. We've got an idea, but in terms of implementation, I'm not sure we're going to be able to deliver that. And I don't think that's going to make the governor look very good or very happy the way that we've done it, because we had bills, particularly Mike Goodman's bill, and I hope Mike in the future and I can do a little wrap-up with the Word with Ward, for those of you who remember that. That's my usual TV show in the afternoon, not early in the morning, as we do here at the Capitol. But with Mike Goodman, Pu'uhonua Villages was basically to get a model with domes and with a way of saying that, you know, we can do 350 square feet for less than $15,000. And there's 8,000 homeless or so who we could house probably for a minuscule amount that we could do for what otherwise is now Housing First. But people can see a model of this already going up in Kaneohe. First Assembly of God has 12 units that they're putting up. 12, you may have seen some of the TV coverage of this, 12 domes, 9 of which are for homeless mothers with children, and for those who then have a manager shop, a food shop, and then a place for the restrooms. So it's a good model for what otherwise Mike Goodman has been pushing for. Hopefully the governor will take into consideration what Pu'uhonua villages are, what Twinkle has been doing, what Bumpikanahalei has been doing, and we're not going to wait for these $400,000 apartments that just don't exist in this place. So the point is, we've promised a lot. Whether we can deliver it, I think, is the bottom line of the 2018 session.
I want to transition to the minority caucus a little bit, because there are 5 of you. And
5 fighters.
Yes, yes. And I think the last day, we really saw the 5 of you kind of come in stride against certain pieces of legislation. So, you know, what are your thoughts on the role of the minority in the legislature? And
2 issues stand out, Caio. 2 issues, both in terms of transparency and openness in government. One was about redacting those who are signing up for boards and commissions. We thought that their salaries should be actually included, and in the bill it said to redact them. So we argued for recommittal, and I think we damaged it enough that the Senate ended up killing it. The other thing was for salaries of those people who work here in the legislature. There was a bill that said you don't have to say their salaries, which we do now. So it's a way of hiding when otherwise we feel in the minority we are about 30 to 35% less in payments for pay equity. So those are things that we can do. But the biggest regret I have of the session and of the legislature, and it's going to be Bill Clinton's mantra, I think, eventually, it's the economy, stupid. We don't focus on high-paying jobs. We don't focus on small businesses. We don't focus enough on getting people out of these. 50% of all the kids who go to school have got to have a subsidy because we don't have incomes high enough. So instead of focusing on housing and homelessness, we got to focus on the economy and the economy and the economy. And we just don't get that yet. And I'm hoping in the future that we will.
what can we expect from you and the caucus during the interim?
A lot of town hall meetings. In fact, I'm going to have one in a short period about the disaster that's going on in the East Honolulu area. There's a number of things that in an election year pop up, but some things are ongoing. Maunalua Bay is going to be a key issue. And I think given what's going on in the national level, there's going to be a lot of stuff about, are we safe from Kim Jong-un and the Korean missiles that have been bandied about. But the other fear is what's going on in the Middle East with the movement of the Tel Aviv to Jerusalem embassy and those parts of the Iranian deal that are not to be made. So ending in, I guess, the Shakespearean way, beware the Ides of May. When the embassy shifts, the Iranian deal goes down in May 12. There's a lot of things going in the anniversary of Israel's 70th year on May 14th.
All righty, Representative Ward, thank you for your time. We want to thank Olelo for allowing us to be on this platform, and thank you to the viewers who had been following this throughout the year. Thank you to everyone, and we will see you all next year.
Aloha.
Live at the Legislature is a live half-hour weekly news program that focuses on the issues, legislation, and topics of importance emerging from this year's legislative session. Each week, state senators and representatives provide a variety of perspectives on the issues from both sides of the aisle. Tune in to Live at the Legislature Weekly to get exclusive updates on what's happening in Hawaii's legislature.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in Room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. The Public Access Room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process. The public is welcome to track and affect legislation pending before the Hawaii State Legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capitol.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of them.
Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature. I'm Jill Kuramoto. Every week we've had a chance to sit down with Hawaii senators to talk about the issues and the events that have been happening during this legislative session. Joining us for this final edition of Live at the Legislature is Senate Majority Caucus Leader Senator Brookwood Galutaria. Senator Galutaria represents District 12, which encompasses Waikiki to Ala Moana, Mo'iliili to Makali. And good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, nice to be here.
And so we have come to the end of session.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what your takeaway is. I know that we've heard progressive and collaborative and efficient. Those are some of the words that were used to describe this session.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It's a wrap.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, it's over. But I think we've got a lot done. I've heard the same words. I think another word would be aggressive. It was progressive, but it was aggressive too. It took it took some spirit to move some of these bills, but it also was a no-brainer to help out Kauai and East Oahu and surrounding vicinities, right? Because that's where I think the true mettle of a legislature is. It's stepping up when it's time to step up. We're going to hash all session on meaningful and impactful bills, but when it's time to go and it's time to help, I think this legislature stepped up. And so that's why I'm really proud of this session. We did many things, besides the $100 million for Kauai relief and the $25 million for the southeastern corridor of Oahu and surrounding vicinities and other areas. I think it was very important to note that the full spectrum of policy we covered. Homelessness, another $30 million towards homelessness, $200 million towards affordable housing. So those in and of itself are enough to say, hey, it was a successful session. But then you have other incredibly meaningful bills that have society impact. Societal impact are things like, our choice.
Yeah, our care, our choice.
Our care, our choice. And, for one to make that decision, which is not an easy decision to make, putting the correct safeguards in place so that it's not just a whimsical decision on the cuff, So I think that was a truly meaningful bill that passed.
And it took many, many years for this to pass. So
Absolutely. I mean,
sometimes that's what happens, right?
That's what happens. Sometimes it takes a long time. Look, in past years we had marriage equality. Before that we had the civil unions. I mean, it wasn't overnight. So these things take time. We got some really interesting, I think, pathways to go. We're going to ask the electorate to vote on something that's going to be meaningful for education. Shall we tax investment properties and in what way? And it's going to be geared specifically towards education. So that's something that's going to be on the ballot. Many of us will be on the ballot. So, now that we're done with this legislative session, we now pivot to our communities.
Right.
And we start talking with everybody.
Exactly. So just because you're not in session doesn't mean the work stops.
Oh, not at all. In fact, we've got a 5-month session. And so we're cramming everything. Every day means something. And it's only 60 working days. After that, we go to the community again, ask them for our support, but most importantly, ask them, what do you think?
Right.
How can we be of service to you? Because we're all public servants.
Exactly.
And so, I'm not sure how much time we got left, but I got a special story I want to share with you.
Yes, I think this is a good one too. A very personal story about what you do, why you do what you do.
Why we do what we do, and it's something that struck me as important enough to share with colleagues on close to closing day. It was on final reading day, and I saw the path clear because nobody stood up, right? So okay, now I got some time, and so I asked the president for to rise on the point of personal privilege, which is a moment that we can share our innermost feelings sometimes. And this had nothing to do with anything of the big stuff. So I wasn't standing up to talk towards, the relief effort or the homelessness or the affordable housing. There was a bill that I crafted. It was based on a personal experience, as most of our bills are. We're informed by our personal experiences. So I got a dear friend, 2 dear friends, Molly and Billy. Molly is disabled, but she actually was a wonderful athlete who was rendered disabled by a terrible accident. So she's paraplegic and, somewhat quadriplegic because her arms are in a permanent grasp, right? But, so I hadn't seen them for a while. They used to come and see me play music all the time when I was in that other life. And, but we still do have jam sessions during this session too, by the way. Just letting you know. You're always invited.
Thank you.
So I saw Molly and Billy after years at one of the stores, like Long's or something like that. Then we went out, said hello, went out, and they walked to their car, I walked to mine. Their car was outfitted, retrofitted for a special circumstance, right? So I said, wow, okay, you retrofitted your car? Yeah, we retrofitted the car. So Molly proceeds to press her wheelchair button, and the ramp comes down. And then she guides herself into the car. Billy said, she pecked me on the cheek first. Billy, on the other hand, gives me a big hug, and then he proceeds to jump into the passenger seat, okay? Molly swings into the driver's seat, puts her arms into a special device, custom-made steering wheel for herself. And then she proceeds to back up the car and drive off. And I'm thinking, that's wild. Absolutely incredible for me to observe that. And then I wondered what it took to retrofit a car of that nature, because it doesn't come like that. You got it, it's customized.
Sure.
And all of the people who perhaps deal with this situation. So I crafted a bill that was very simple. It gave them an exemption on weight tax for the vehicle.
Sure, because all of that equipment is
That's right. So it made its way through, all the way through, till the very end. And now it's up on the governor's desk, and I'm sure he's going to sign it. We'll make a big deal of it when it is. But the neat thing about it is, I didn't tell Molly or Billy about this. We just did it. And then with the help of Olelo is one of the guys that work for Olelo is her neighbor, who sent her the floor speech. And that's how she found out. Then she called me just the other day to thank me. Now, those are the things we do, and that's why we do what we do. So we're all servants, and I'm glad you asked me to be here live at the legislature with you. Thank you, Jill.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Olelo for allowing us this opportunity to share what the actions of the Senate does every day of the session. So thank you for watching Live at the Legislature. Aloha.